Hi, I'm Darlene Washington, and this is Spiritually Intriguing, the Church Edition. Here we are continuing our conversation with Pastor Chet Johnson of New Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church in Gary, Indiana. Pastor?
Hi, Ms. Washington.
Of course. All right, so we're just going to get right into it again. Another issue I have that is about our youth today is the way that they perceive themselves. And I noticed this wonderful little, well put together little thing by Maya Angelou, a poem that she had done, a phenomenal woman. And so I referenced it. But here was my question. It's in a world where we seem to value only outward tendencies, such as beauty, clothes, and hair, Maya Angelou tells us what's really attractive in a woman, specifically. And can this poem capture today's youth? What do you think?
I think there is a market that this poem is going to capture. It's a very beautiful poem.
It is.
And it causes person to take a different vantage point of looking at others and evaluating where the real value is. And that's inside. Even Scripture said God does not look at the outer appearance, but he looks on the inside. And the Bible also says it's not what goes in, but what comes out that gives definition to the person. So I believe the spirit of the person is the most powerful entity of their makeup. And if you allow that spirit to give character to how you're viewed on the outside, I believe it will add a dimension that the outside alone cannot do by itself. Yeah. And I think that's what her poem is saying. There are some, because society markets products that focuses on the person's look on the outside, and that market is going to continue to be there. It's going to continue to grow because there's people with low self-esteem, and they believe that the only way to enhance their image is from the outside in. But then poems such as this, encouragement by people who embrace this philosophy of thought as it relates to who I really am, and let me show you who is really in here. And because at any point in time, how I look on the outside can change. I can remember being criticized by a particular person one time because I was not showing myself dressed like a pastor. And I can remember leaving a job site that I was on and had to get to the hospital. And I went to the hospital to inquire as to what room a particular person was in. And the receptionist looked at me after I spoke and said, "Are you a pastor?" I said, "Yes, I am." She said, "I could tell." But here I had on work boots, work clothes. But she was able to perceive that there was something about me that was not reflected in how I was dressed.
And that's honorable.
And that's what she is saying. You know, let the inner beauty of who you really are come forth, and then you don't have to focus so much on how you're dressed. On that, yes, you ought to look your best, dress the best that you can, but if you cannot dress as good as others, or how society feels you ought to dress, it does not give definition to who you are on the inside.
And that's so very true. And another topic that I've had in previous discussions with other pastors was the fact that, so if you're poor, you know, you can't afford all these nice clothes. You cannot afford a nice house. You can't afford all these beautiful things. So how are you supposed to feel, you know, good about yourself? You're supposed to say, "Oh, I'm so less than." You're supposed to walk around with your head down and feel lesser than just because you don't have an outward appearance that strikes a person to say, "Oh, you have value." And that's why one of my famed sessions continues to be, every life has value. Every life has value. You cannot just put the value on someone just because they are, you know, rich or they're beautiful, or you know, every life has value. You can learn something from any and everyone.
And the Apostle Paul stated that he learned that whatsoever state he's in, how to be content. He said when he's up, I know how to handle myself when I'm up. When I'm down, I know how to handle myself when I'm down. So he said he's not going to be subject to his circumstances and the conditions that he's in because of what he believes and who he believes in. It gives him balance and it gives him value no matter what condition he's to be found in.
I love it. I love it. Okay, that's a great response. Okay, we're back on to domestic violence again. And in this case, this is about Monique. She's a comedian, actress, talk show host. And she wanted to point out the fact that we are just condemning this Ray Rice guy. We're on Ray Rice again and his domestic violence situation. And, you know, she actually steered away from talking about his career, which is at stake right now, I would think, because the NFL does not want to portray the image that they condone domestic violence, and they're very cautious of that. And so, but her point, she didn't even address that. She's talking about just being a Christian person and, you know, understanding that people make mistakes and we're supposed to be forgiving. God forgives us, and who are we to just constantly not want to forgive someone? But what kind of threw me off on her statements was that she said, well, I used to fight with my husband, you know, or my boyfriend, whoever. We used to fight. We was fighting. You know, and then sometimes I would call it domestic violence, and sometimes I wouldn't. I guess she was saying sometimes I won and sometimes I didn't. Right. So, you know, she is a big lady, but I don't know, you know, if she was actually in there kind of whipping on her man's butt. But, you know, I can understand what she was saying, but I mean, I simply just cannot condone it. I have seen too many situations where a woman, or not very many cases of a man, but it does happen, but where a woman has been beaten so badly where the next time you hear of them, they're either dead, in a coma, or still in the situation, and just ill-fated and can't function. So
where Monique added all this surround sound, and when she talked about her personal experiences with her and her husband, that's the surround sound that she added to try to present or to convey over what she believed. And I think what she's saying is that we're being too quick to pass critical judgment on Mr. Rice to the extent of condemning him and sentencing him. Again, the NFL about ready to make another business decision.
Exactly.
And that is based on image. And if all of us were subject to lose our job because of a critical mistake that we may have made, then all of us would probably be unemployed.
No job.
And so this particular incident, no, it was not good. Right now, should he lose his livelihood as a result of that? That's a question. I would hesitate to strip him of his livelihood because of this incident, because all of the factors are not very clear. The outcome or the conclusion of the incident is not admirable. It's not something that you would want to happen. It's not something that any person ought to want to be supportive of. So I think jumping to conclusion is something we generally do. We like to glory in other people's flesh and in their other downfalls without looking at the real thing that needs to be conveyed over. That is, husbands and wives should not be in that type of domestic behavior. A husband should never be physical with his wife, no matter how physical she attempts to get with him. Because again, he has an advantage physically that would always be against his favor when the outcome. She could have hit him 100 times, and he hit her one time and knocked her out. He's going to be the bad guy because he was the man. And those are things we have to take in consideration. As a woman, for Monique to take the position of being a little bit sensitive to his side, it shows that there is a balance between women taking a man's view, men taking the women's view. And so we have to look at all of those factors. Again, no one, I believe, will say, yeah, he should have hit her. And it should have ended that way. But I think we're sensitive to say, let's look at all the factors so that we can avoid this situation between the two of them. And then we can learn that no one else repeats it. And I think that's what she's saying. Don't be so quick to jump to conclusion, to condemn. We judge the event, it was wrong. But to condemn the person, then as Jesus said, you know, he who without sin, you know, cast the first stone.
That is correct. Yeah, I agree with that. And so I think what the NFL ought to do is simply, when they have these episodes, I mean, not just the NFL, all these highly publicized leagues or Hollywood or whatever, take a look at this, provide corrective action.
Exactly.
Just give a person a chance, you know, okay, let's put him in anger management.
Yes.
How hard is that?
Right.
And then all is well.
Right.
We're not condoning domestic violence. Violence. Now we're not punishing Rihanna. Now we're not punishing, you know, the other woman. We're not doing any of that. And by just asking him to take some anger management courses and making sure that
and
he
be
complies.
serious about it.
And making sure that he complies and that there are no more episodes.
Right. Exactly.
You know, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
Yeah, so I agree with that. Thank you very much for your response. Okay, well that about does it for this episode of Spiritually Intriguing, the Church Edition. Thanks so much for watching.